Peshwa's time. And the economic system of during those days was not as complicated and complex as we have now. We have share market and so many things. Manufacturing is done at somewhere, and because of the transportation, now the goods which are made at far away places are available at the the places far away from the manufacturing site. It was not that kind of situation during those days because of the lack of communication. So the economic activities were quite simple. I am combining these two topics. That is, social and economic condition is a separate topic given in the syllabus. But in fact, I think it should have been economic condition and trade and commerce that should be together. And social condition we have already done it. So today we will be discussing about the economic condition as well as the trade and commerce that we get information about during the Peshwa's period. So let me share the screen. Well, I hope you are able to see the Word file and me. Word file also?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
okay. So in case of, as economy was mostly agriculture based, and the land of Maharashtra, generally speaking, in comparison to the northern Indian plains, is not very fertile. Generally, we get references to that the rice was cultivated in the Konkan belt, and Jondra and Bajri is cultivated on the area that is called Desh, that is surrounding Pune. And this Jondra is also called Jwari, which was a staple food in Maharashtra until very recently. Now it is being gradually replaced by wheat. This old age practice of cultivating agriculture like Zondara, Bajra with the help of bullock, obviously it still continue in the many rural area. It's very old age practice and it continued on the same line. Balutedari system has developed. We have already discussed about the Balutedari system because this Balutedari system, we have discussed it while discussing about the social condition. But in case of Balutedari system, the social stratification and the economic functioning of the society, that is division of the labor, it got mixed up together. If you remember, among the Balutedar, there were farmers, there were carpenters. So farming, carpentry, then cobbler, goldsmith, all those people were coming under the category of Balutedar. So they had a kind of caste status depending on their profession as well as the profession that comes with the caste. So we find this caste stratification and the economic division of the society is being mixed up together. So the Balutedari system, it has served the two purposes. That is ensuring the social stratification as well as ensuring that the economic function of the society is being carried out with a proper division of labor. Peshwa, they tried to give encouragement to the agriculture cultivation like Takvi loan. Takvi loan is a loan given to the farmer during the time of the distress, or if the farmer is under a lot of debt he has incurred from the money lender. Takvi loans are given on a nominal rate. Relatively, the rate of interest will be much on the lesser side. Now, because of the growth of the Maratha Empire, the urbanization have started. And with the growth of urbanization, there was an increasing demand for food for the agriculture produce from the villages. So, we see that connectivity now, that agriculture produce, which is generally cultivated in the villages, is being now transported to the urban centers. During the war also, there was a huge requirement of the agriculture produce like food and the wood and other raw material that is required for the continuation of the war. Agriculture taxes are collected in cash and kind, and government they open their shops for selling goods that is collected in the form of tax. Many farmers mixing of two profession. They cultivated agriculture land during the sowing season. During the rainy season, Maratha army generally they did not go on expedition because during the rain you cannot, it's not convenient to march your army because of the flooding and all. So they stayed at home. They cultivated their agriculture land, and it is a sowing season which is going on now. That is June, July, where we need more intense labor. and we need labor at the time of the harvesting of the crops. So, but the sowing is more labor intense work. So during the sowing season, these people, they stayed at home, they cultivated, they sowed the seeds, and then later on, when the crop was about to be harvested, generally the men wait for the war, and the harvesting of the crops is generally done by the women of the family. uh, of course, those who can afford had servants to work for them, but generally the farmers were doing this both the profession, partly farmer and partly they used to go for a war, and it's during the time of the war generally they are paid, like we have discussed about the when we discuss about the military administration, we have discussed about Shiledar. So these farmers, they will have their horses and they will look after the horses, and with the horse and weapon, they will join the army, and during the expedition or during the war time, they were paid salary by the government. Well, now apart from this Balutedar, who has carried out the different economic function, there new community has emerged, that is Wani. Wani was not included in the Balutedar, but this Wani used to be the shopkeeper in the village and later on in the towns as well. But generally, references that we get, that this Wani, he never became affluent. In spite of all his shopkeeping, he continued to remain as a poor. Like Tukarama was a Wani, but he always referred to his poverty. He does, generally speaking, does not seem to be a very rich person. Then, with urbanization and with the expansion of the Maratha Empire, there emerged class of Shete and Mahajan. Now, this Shete and Mahajan, the responsibility of these people were, when the new center grew up, the Shete and Mahajan were called by the authority, like Peshwa or big Sardar like Sindhya and Holkar, and they asked the Shete and Mahajan to establish the market. So, this Shete and Mahajan, they established the market and they took certain taxes from the shopkeeper, and they become an important member of the Goth Sabha. You know, Goth Sabha were the group of the people, we have discussed this while discussing about the judicial administration, the group of different people who delivered the justice. And this Goth Sabha, there were Goth Sabha of the merchants. These Goth Sabhas usually used to function on the at the urban centers. And the Shete and Mahajan, they were quite influential in that Goth Sabha, as well as the Shete and Mahajan also, they were doing the business of money lending. And gradually, they also became the part of the Watandari system, that is the economic division and social division of the people. Now, let us talk about urbanization. It's a very important part of the economic system. Satara, Pune, Paithan, Solapur, these centers have emerged as important urban centers, and they were manufacturing and trading centers. At Pune, there was a factory started during the Peshwa's period, that is manufacturing of cannon and cannonballs, manufacturing of tent equipment, because when the army moves, they need this tent equipment. Paper manufacturing have started, mint have started. Then with this growth of the urban center, again there emerged people who started lending money. You know, they started lending money for expedition. And here we find that generally speaking, there was number of money lenders, and they used to lend small amounts to Peshwa or to Sardar, who start his expedition against the enemy. And after the success of expedition, the money is paid back to this money lender with interest. Many times, the government is not in a position to pay back the money that is taken from the money lender. For example, if the expedition doesn't prove to be successful, government is not in a position to pay back. That in that case, some area is given to the money lender called Kamavishi. Kamavishi is nothing but a tax that is collected from the area. So if suppose Peshwa has taken a loan from somebody and not in a position to pay back, the Peshwa will allot certain area to that person, and he will call it as a Kamavishi. Kamavishi is given, Kamavishi delay. That means that money lender now will have authority to collect taxes from that area for a certain period of time, maybe for a number of years, till the time his debt along with the interest is coming back to him. So we find that generally the economy that is based on war is being developed during Peshwa's period. Like Peshwa will plan for his expedition, and then the money lender will finance that expedition. And after coming back, Peshwa and those Sardar will pay back those money to this money lender with interest. And in case if they are not able to pay it back because of some reason, maybe expedition has not proved to be beneficial, in that case, the area is given which is called Kamavishi. Kamavishi, remember that that is an area which is given for the uh, which is given for the collection of the taxes. Similarly, Kamavishi is also area which is called the area which is directly under the control of Peshwa. I think we have studied this while discussing about the Maratha Confederation, that Kamavishi was used to be the area which was directly under the control of Peshwa, and at certain places in the area of Sardar, in the area of Saranjamdar, Peshwa kept his own area which was called Huzur Kamavishi, and the intention was that so that Peshwa can keep control over that Sardar. So Kamavishi, the word many times is used in a different way, but it does indicate that authority to collect taxes. So if the Kamavishi is given to Kamavishi is actually Peshwa's position, and the name Kamavishi came from the right of the collection of the taxes. If the word Kamavishi is there, that means it is the Peshwa's position. All right. During this time, we find that the Marathas, they generally left their traditional guerrilla warfare, and they started developing their artillery. They started engaging into the frontal collision with the enemy, like it has happened in Panipat. And the war now became very costly affair. Earlier, it was guerrilla tactics, and guerrilla tactics ensured that the losses incurred during the time of the war are minimized. We find that during the urbanization phase, large number of people, they migrated to cities like artisan, manufacturer of arms, soldiers, students, and pates in Pune, element of difference in other big cities. So if see any area is increased, that is called pate. So pate is something that is an extended area. Like for example, in Pune we have Sadashiv Pate. We have different pates. Sadashiv Pate is generally the name is given on the name of the person who was instrumental in establishing that pate. And when the paid start, generally these Shethes and Mahajan were called, and they were asked to establish their business, and then people slowly start settling down. Well, the people who migrated to Pune, they established different paid. For example, with the growth of the Pune, with the growth of Maratha Kingdom, large number of artisans, they migrated to Pune from North India, and they used to stay in a different paid away from the, little bit segregated from the native local population of Maharashtra. In the beginning of 18th century, the number of page were only 5 in Pune, but gradually it has increased to 18. And another thing that has led to urbanization is the construction activities. Now, as the Peshwas and the big Sardar, affluent Sardar, they started coming and settling down in Pune, number of contractors also increased. So the construction of building, canal cultivation, people to supply flowers for the for the religious rituals, their number have also increased. The people who used to make cannonballs, they started coming and settling down in Pune. Manufacturing of paper and ink, all that activities, economic activities started increasing, leading to the urbanization. But we don't come across any reference to the very systematic training of the artisan. Artisan, generally they followed their hereditary profession and they guarded their skill. For example, a goldsmith will teach his skill to only his son, and his son will continue to teach only his son. It was not a professional training at any center that is given to the artisan. That is the reason we find that the art generally remained confined to the particular house, and it did not develop on the larger scale in Maharashtra. When we'll be talking about the art and architecture, you will understand that even though the Marathas, they have conquered a very significant area of India, art and architecture did not develop to the very high level during under the period under the control of the Marathas. Well, about the economic activities, we do get reference to the diamond carry. The diamond used to be carried from this carry, and this diamond carry was in Bundelkhand at a place called Moje Dakore. Let us go to the coastal trade now. The coastal trade, it continued to be monopolized by European. Arab, they have monopolized the coastal trading in the medieval period in the early medieval period. Later on, they were replaced by the Portuguese, and the Portuguese were later on replaced by the British. So this European, they monopolized the coastal trade, and the Marathas, they did not really had business consciousness. They were generally employed as the laborer and the carrier of the goods, or at the most the people who will supply the goods manufactured on the land to the European merchant. They themselves did not really participate much in this mercantile trade, and this lack of business consciousness among the Marathis are being taken advantage by Gujarati. We find that a number of Gujaratis, they were migrating to this coastal region, migrating to the Maratha Empire, that is Pune, which was the main center, and establishing their business. The royalty, like Shahu and Peshwe, they used to bring the European goods through the agent in the coastal region or from Bombay. Bombay was an area which was under the control of the British. So from there, they used to get their European manufactured good. For example, we do get reference that in 1715, Shahu, he through Angre, Angre was a person who was looking after the Maratha Navy. So through Angre, Shahu procured certain European salts, candle, tobacco, perfume. So we see the basic industry like candle manufacturing was also not being taken on the larger scale. Even in case of paper also, though the paper was manufactured in India, the quality of the paper that is imported from Europe was much better than what is manufactured in India. Item of import generally glass item, the mirror, magnifying glasses, lock. Lock used to be very good quality of lock that were imported by the European. Paper was imported. European paper was much better, and we do get references to that. Peshwas using the watches and spectacles, and special provision was made to look after those spectacles. So as copying Peshwa, many other affluent Sardar, they also started using watches and spectacle. So we find that the people, mechanic of watches, manufacturing of watches was not done in India, of course, but the mechanic of watches, they started, acquiring certain skill to repair the watches.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what kind like the watches we have on our walls, उस तरह की or what?
हाँ, देखिए बहुत पहले ना आपने कभी देखा होगा पिक्चरों में द वॉचेस व्हिच यू यूज टू यू हैव टू गिव देयर विल बी a spring in the watch
Winding
and
clock.
huh?
Winding clock, sir.
Yes, winding clock. So the winding clock, and it was to be of both the type. You bigger one for the wall, and there is a reference to the Peshwa having wristwatch as well. All right.
Okay.
So that was a very cool elementary mechanism used for the watches. And the British generally they followed this policy. What they did is that the watches or any costly item, first they will give to the royalty as a gift, and then by seeing that costly gift or by seeing that item like watch, some other Sardar will also ask to the British representative, I also want it and I'm ready to pay for it. That is how they develop the market. First gift it, and then later on they started selling it. And during this period we find that the Brahmins, who are traditionally supposed to be dedicated to the giving of knowledge and religious pursuit, they started doing a different profession. For example, we find that many Brahmins are emerging as money lender, and of course Peshwa, the warrior who assumed the responsibility of a warrior and protection, were Brahmins. Now this Kamisdar was supposed to be responsible for the collection of the taxes and paying it to the government. Now to make it suitable for the government, what government used to do is government used to assess the land and decide the revenue, and Kamisdar was asked to pay that money in advance to the government, and then Kamisdar will collect it from the farmer. Now many times what used to happen, the Kamisdar will pay, let us say 10,000 rupees. But once we go for collection, because of certain reason, he is only getting 8,000 rupees. So 2,000 rupees is considered as a loan given to the government. And on that loan, the Kamisdar will be later on in next year, he will be paid interest. So next year, he may, collect, let us say, pay only 5,000 to government, but collect 8,000 rupees from the agriculture cultivators, from the farmers. So because of this system, these Kamvizar over a period of time, they amassed huge wealth and they themselves became money lender to the government. For example, in 1740, when Balaji Bajirao, Nanasaheb Peshwa becomes Peshwa, there were 150 money lenders in Pune. So we find the large number of money lenders emerging during this period. And in that, we find many Maharashtrian Brahmins are emerging as the money lender. Even it is also found out that these many Brahmins, they accumulated whatever dakshina and dan they got from the people, and on that dakshina and dan they started their business of money lending. So we find the name like Gadre, Chiplunkar, Naik, Joshi, all these are the Brahmin surname who generally saved the money, and all they were some of them were Kamvizar, they amassed wealth and then they started the business of money lending. Babuji Naik was important money lender of that Peshwa's period. Even he wanted to become Peshwa at the death of first Peshwa, that is Balaji Vishwanath. Then Brahmendra Swami, he was in fact Swami, the holy man, but he was also having a huge wealth, and he himself used to lend money to Peshwa during the time of the war. A lot of money was taken as a debt by Peshwa from Brahmendra Swami. But all these Marathi money lenders, generally speaking, they remain small money lender. Like during Mughal period at Surat, there emerged some people who became very rich and famous. For example, Jagat Seth and Baharji Bora. Those were the famous money lender of Surat. And when Surat was looted by Chhatrapati Shivaji, the Marathas, they dug out the palaces, the huge houses of this money lender like Baharji Bora, and they could get a lot of wealth. So we don't find anybody emerging in Maharashtra, surprisingly, who could be equal to those wealthy money lenders of Mughal period. Money lenders, they continue to be the small money lenders, giving small amount of money to Peshwa. And we find that during this period, Gujarati moneylender also came to Pune. The trading activities, as I told you, the Marathas could not take advantage. That business consciousness was not there. It was Gujaratis who benefited, and the European trade, the coastal trade, generally remained in the hands of the European. The reason, we can investigate why the trade in Maharashtra remained generally weak. First thing is that the land in Maharashtra is not very fertile, and the money has to flow from outside. That is the reason Marathas, they impose chauth on the different area, and then they carried that money to their own territory. But generally, that money is spent on luxury. There was no capital formation. Until unless you have a capital with you, you cannot invest. And we also find that these rulers are always under debt. For example, when Bajirao Peshwa died, he just before that he wrote letter to Brahmendra Swami saying that there is a lot of debt on me, and the Saukar, the money lender, I am afraid to show my face to them. When Nanasaheb Peshwa died, there was a lot of death. But interestingly, the Peshwas, they did not seem to taken a lot of effort in putting giving a solid economic foundation to the state, which later on, of course, Nana Fadnavis could do. But then Nana Fadnavis personally also, he amassed a lot of wealth in crores. So there is a complexities when personally you want to amass a lot of wealth at the cost of the state. Obviously, state will not flourish. So we don't find a very systematic arrangement of the encouraging trade activities. The Marathas, they just impose chauth on the agriculture cultivator, and they amass huge wealth, and that is usually spent on luxury and ceremony. For example, in the marriage of Savai Madhavrao, a lot of money was spent during every Kartik Shravan month. Large number of Brahmins, they came to Pune and they were fed by Peshwa, incurring, and they were given dan and dakshina, and a lot of money were given to them. So, that kind of superstitious or tradition and old practices, which the Peshwas were not able to do away with because of the Brahmanical influence, was also one of the important factors that trade and mercantile activities did not develop as it could have been, given the situation that the Marathas were the supreme military power in India for a considerable period, at least 50-60 years. Next thing we find that, which is again a very sad story, that we did not find that the good artisan also developed in Maharashtra. Like, I have already referred while discussing about the administration of the Marathas, that the Marathas, they thought it is quite manly and masculine activity to go and fight in the war. And they were eager to fight in the war. In every house, since the childhood, the children were taught how to use the sword and how to use the javelin. But artisan, they did not develop as such, and that is the reason we find that the artists, when Nana Fadnavis, he arranged marriage of Peshwa Savai Madhavrao. Attardani, the small pot where you can keep the scented water, has to be imported from north. The Krishna idol has to be imported from Delhi. So we don't find a lot of artistic development taking place. Neither the Maharashtrian people has developed a business sense, and generally the advantage was taken by the Gujarati and European merchant. But later on we find that with the decline of Peshwa's rule during the time of second Bajirao II, and after the extinction of the Maratha Empire in 1818, after Third Anglo-Maratha War, the Peshwa, the area, of course, now a significant portion of it has passed under the British control, but Pune has declined very rapidly. And Bombay has emerged as a more important center of trade and mercantile activities. So let us, sum up. Before 18th century, Maharashtra was not very well developed in trade and commerce in any case before Peshwa's period. It emerged for a certain period of time when Peshwa started ruling from Pune, but still the foundation still remained weak because Maharashtrian people, they did not develop adequate trade and industry. And when the Britishers, they conquered Pune, again there was a rapid decline of Pune. So this is what I have to say about economic activities, trade and commerce. In case of economic activities, certain things were already discussed when we were discussing about the social system, that is Bolutedar. The things were quite mixed up. Bolutedar, along with the Bolutedar, the village did provided a self-sufficient economic unit. Everything that is required in the village was produced in the village, and generally they did not had much contact with the urban center. But then slowly during Peshwa's period, a lot of things started coming from village to the urban center. People started migrating. Urban center have emerged, but nevertheless, it was not very spectacular achievement of the Marathas. They did do very well in the battlefield. Starting from Maharashtra, they went as far as Atak, that we already discussed just before Panipat. They tried to protect Mughal Empire and gave sacrifice lot many lives in the battlefield of Panipat. But in case of economic and artistic achievement, Maharashtra still lagged during the Peshwa's period. So this is where I end today's lecture. In case you have anything to ask, you may please.